our final two guests are also international, and they're going to be focusing on the topic of leadership. One of them you've already seen on the main stage, Patrick Lencioni, a best-selling US author, and he's going to be joined by Blok, who runs an innovative neighborhood nursing service. Please give them a huge round of applause and welcome them to the HS Visio stage. Lots of people here to see you, and we've got people watching on the live stream as well, if you want to say a bit of a hello to them as well. Patrick and Jos, thank you so much for being here. Patrick, you've just been on the main stage. Jos, you're going to be there very soon. But for anyone who missed you, Patrick, just summarize the qualities.
The whole thing?
No, not the whole speech. We're going to focus on leadership. What qualities do you think are important for a leader?
Humility, wisdom, and then courage. And I think today courage is becoming more and more important.
Why is that?
You know, I think because people don't like to have hard conversations, and that's so important today that, like, whether you're talking to your direct reports or talking to people in your family, it's really important that we have loving, hard conversations. And so we tend to think of courage as what we do in front of a bunch of people. And then there's the courage where we confront ourselves when we look in the mirror. But I think interpersonal courage, like saying to somebody, oh, I'm afraid I don't agree with you on that. I think, let me share why. People don't like to do that very much. And I don't think that's good for our business. I don't think it's good for the world.
Do you think things are shifting a bit though? I mean, since the pandemic, there's been a lot more focus on authenticity, sharing things in a way that, I mean, you've been talking about this for a long time, and now the conversation's shifting, and I'm wondering what you make of that shift.
Well, the interesting thing is, and I don't know what it's like here, but in the United States, so many people are still not working in an office. And so there's a definite separation that's gone on. Young people that have started in the workplace in the last 3 years, many of them have never been in an office. And it's really difficult to have that kind of relationship on Zoom. And so I have a feeling it's not the same here, because it seems like people are commuting and doing all that.
I think it's a mix, a lot of hybrid working.
Yeah, and that's understandable. Freedom to do that is good. But in the US, there's companies that won't ask their people to go to work. So I don't think there's as much relationship as there used to be.
Okay, interesting, and perhaps that's something that needs to be focused on.
Yeah, I think so. I think there's something about people being together. That's why you have a forum like this. And we have
people why it's packed.
On camera that couldn't come, and that's great, but it's so important to be together too.
Yeah. Jos, you used to be a nurse, and now you run this organization without any managers. So on the topic of leadership, that's very different from a lot of the ways we tend to do things. Just tell us a little bit about how it came about and why you believe in it.
I believe in that people can decide for themselves, that they are intrinsic motivated to do the right things. And when you learned a job where you think you should do your whole life, because that's a lot of nurses who are doing that you're very able to organize the work yourself. I have the experience myself. So when I was 28, 29, I worked as a community nurse, and there was no management. So we organized our work ourselves. And the main difference with the last 20 years was that the results were much better. So for patients. So if you are a nurse, you want to have the best results for the patient. So to create an environment where nurses find that it's stimulating, it's attractive to work in, to have good colleagues who have the same ideas about what's good, what are the right values, what are the good things to do.
How does it work in terms of, I mean, traditionally we think of chain of command, right? Is there really no boss? Who takes the flak if things go wrong?
You know, but you should ask yourself, how can the things may go right? So I don't use the words like command. Nobody likes to command. So it's like an army with a commander. So I think that a lot of people want to be free and feel free and develop themselves in work. So there are just groups. We have 15,000 people. and they work in self-organized groups. The groups are not bigger than 10 to 12, that's the maximum. They have different roles in the team, and they just do their work every day, every year. The routines they're working on are the same throughout the years. So if you focus on the routines and you say these routines are logic, then self-steering works much better than control and command.
That's exactly what our previous guest said, the importance of routines. Yeah, Patrick, I'd like you to jump in with your reflections on this. It is more of an unusual model to have it so laid out like that.
Yeah, and I don't know the specifics of what he's doing with that, so I can't really say. But what I would say is this: I've always been I don't like hierarchical organizations, but I do like to know that there is some hierarchy at the end of the day, because when somebody has to say that person doesn't belong now, because I talk to flight attendants at an airline, and I go, if one of the flight attendants doesn't work very hard, how do they make their way out of the organization? And who hires? So I do like the idea that I think teams manage each other, peers, but at the end of the day, somebody has to say, I think it's time for you to, we need to make you available to the market.
But how often does that happen? Because we see that all these things happen quite organically.
That people leave?
If people don't fit in a team, they feel it also themselves.
Well, I do agree.
They start thinking about, do I belong here? And then, but it doesn't happen a lot. But then when it's becoming a kind of an issue, then there is a coach.
So there's a coach.
There's a coach.
Okay.
This coach doesn't have a hierarchical role.
Right.
But they can help the team to solve the problem.
Right.
So, and usually there is a kind of a solution that everybody is consenting. So you don't believe in consensus, I heard.
No.
My basic idea is based on consensus. So it's interesting.
Yeah. And I don't know the specific environment, but I think so oftentimes, I don't know what the environment is. This would be a fabulous conversation around a table.
It's
That's why we've got you around a table.
It's for healthcare.
It's healthcare. So they're all nurses.
Oh, so it's all nurses.
They're all nurses. They're working, but we have also psychiatrists.
Right.
Working in other teams.
But they all generally know what they're supposed to be doing, though.
They know what they should be doing.
Okay.
So we have as less as protocols as possible.
Right.
We don't have KPIs.
Right.
And so we say everybody wants to do the best possible thing. And if it doesn't work well, it will sort out itself.
Yes. So I'm interested to know, has this model been translated to other industries? Have other countries come to you and said, actually, we'll pick this up and try it too?
Yes, we're working with partners in 30 different countries.
Just in nursing or within other industries as well?
No, the partners are in nursing, are in healthcare. But we have a lot of other industries like IT companies, banks, a lot of different industries who are, I think they're struggling with the slow decision-making processes in organizations. So if you have this hierarchical process, you have to go through all these levels, and the flexibility and agility of these organizations is I think a big problem.
Yeah.
So, and if you want to connect with your environment and to connect with your clients, you have to listen and you have to be sensitive for that. And all these layers are more or less an obstruction for doing that.
Can I ask, we briefly mentioned remote working. Do you think a lot of the jobs you're talking about are kind of face-to-face, physical healthcare jobs? Do you think it would be as easy to have this model if it's a group of people working together on Zoom or Teams?
Say it again.
So a lot of the jobs you're talking about are nurses in hospitals. They're going to be able to meet each other face-to-face, or have a meeting at the beginning and the end of a shift.
And there's a patient right there.
And there's patients there and humans.
Yeah.
But Patrick briefly mentioned it's a slightly different world out there for a lot of businesses that are doing their business online on Zoom calls. Do you think you'd be able to create that culture of trust and cooperation?
During COVID, everything was online. So all the meetings were online. So and even the effectiveness of the meetings were even bigger than when they sit together. So the idea that you have to be together to have a commitment or to work from out of the same vision, I think that's not necessary. But what's very important is that people, you mentioned the word trust, eh? So trust is the basic thing, I think, for a lot of things. And these people trust each other, but they also have to work based on trust with their patients. So trust is, for us, the most important principle we work on. And if you arrange that in a good way and you have the conditions to work in, that this is your daily practice, then it grows. It grows by itself. So I really believe in organic systems, not in hierarchical systems.
One question I have is, who sets the direction, though? Like, for the organization, who says, these are the things we're going to do, and these are the values we're going to make important, and this is the definition of what we're going to go after? Because I think if everybody just comes up with that together.
No, there are some guidelines. So we said from the start when we did it, we started 17 years ago. So then with just one team, and now we have 15,000 people. But we said what we want is the best possible solutions for patients. That's one. So quality.
But you have to make decisions about like cost versus.
No, we made a very simple financial model. So we said if you have a productivity of so much %, then you're doing well. So the guidance on financial is very simple. Just one page, everybody understands. So simplification is a very important thing. Try to keep things simple so that everybody understands. And the third thing is collaboration. So make agreements about how you collaborate with each other, instead of asking somebody outside the team or a manager or whatever. Take responsibility and be accountable for what you're doing.
Right.
These were the guidelines from the start, 3 guidelines.
Right. How about this? So there's 5 people working on something and they just don't agree. And so 3 people say, we want to do this for the patient, and 2 people say, I don't want to do that for the patient.
Yeah.
How do you, like, what I like to say is the job of the leader is not to determine everything, but at some point someone has to break the tie.
No, Patrick, that's not needed. These nurses, they just sit together and they talk with each other and they say, what's the best option? And is there an option we can all agree on? And then, so we use a communication strategy which is focusing on solutions. So we said it's a solution-driven interaction method. So we said if there are different opinions, that's good. Because everybody has their own idea about.
But then you have to make a decision.
No.
And maybe that patient, maybe it's critical. It has to happen.
No, not at all. No, we focus too much on decisions. These are very smart, sensitive people who say, okay, I learned from you, and now I changed my idea, and we can get along with the best option.
That implies that they're all humble enough to. What if you have a person on the team with big ego, or that's better at arguing than the other people?
Then usually without half a year or a year they drop out.
No, but what is the cost to the patient who's like, oh, somebody help me, and they're like, no. The bossy lady is telling us
Patrick,
what to do.
this doesn't happen.
I feel like people working in healthcare might, as a general rule, not have such high egos as certain other industries.
If you treat people,
this is not going to work in many organizations. I will tell you that.
No, it's a view on people. If you trust people that they can do that, they will act like that way.
All right.
But then you have to get people out of the organization if they don't belong.
It's super interesting to see this
really
debate come to life, and I love it when panels really go off and have a proper debate.
Because we could sit here and go, oh, that's fascinating.
No, but
we've got a minute and a half left, and I just want to quickly wrap up on another leadership topic. We've talked a little bit about remote work, the return to the office. What do you think about this, Patrick? Because we are seeing here in Europe as well a push, a lot of surveys, CEOs saying they want people to be back in the office full time. Is that something that you think is important for leadership?
Well, I think we should always have flexibility around the project. It should be about how to get something done. And there's certain kinds of work that can be done this way. But right now, many of the leaders I'm talking to are just too wimpy to say, you need to be in the office more. And there's certain kind of jobs where you need to be together. I mean, imagine in healthcare, it's like your patients are here. So I think we need to go back to assuming people are going to work together most of the time, and then actually give them freedom, not because we don't want to offend them by making them go to work. I think that it's time for people to because people together do better.
Indeed. Thank you so much for sharing your perspectives. I'm so sorry we ran out of time there, but great to have you with us, Jos de Blok, and also to Patrick. Thank you so much.
Yeah.